Hi there, I'm Flazefire, the is silent, and I'm the founder of FLP. Were you or a loved one injured in an accident? Are you a furry? Do you have parental issues? Are you a part of the LGBTQ+ community? First off, call me. And second, oh boy, do I have a show for you. If any of that applies to you, then call 6969-420-WEED. That's 6969-420-WEED. Sex funny, Lamau.
Helluva Boss is an indie YouTube series created by Vivzicologist MD Rano. It is an animated comedy, drama, partial musical that is set in a fictionalized version of Hell, but more importantly, it is set in the same universe as the hit indie turned Amazon series, Has Been Hotel, and it is very disappointing. Helluva Boss follows a hell-based company named IMP, a group of imp demon mercenaries that kill people on Earth. Or at least that's what it says on the Luna U2's box. Because that interesting premise is what the show started off as, but you take off the mask, and it's concealing fanfiction tier romance drama, flat unchanging characters, beautiful animation, stellar voice acting, and the worst writing I have ever had the misfortune of hearing.
You're so gross!
Aw, stop it. I get enough of that from my therapist. Now let's go lick some ass!
The expression is kick some ass.
Man, is this show conflicting. I want to let it be known that I have been watching Helluva Boss since it first came out. I want to like it, but I can't, because I actively use my brain. If I turned it off, I'm sure my enjoyment would skyrocket. But just like every character in Helluva Boss's relationship with their father, I have many issues with it. Now, before I delve too deep into my whining, I need to let you all know that I'm actually a demon. This is my human disguise. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna change back to my demon form, because every second I spend in this skin is agony. Kamui, kemono. Well, this is kind of gay. Oh, hell yeah. Yep. Okay. That was my doctor. He says I'm positive? I am happy. Let's talk about the good. Right off the bat, the animation is beyond anything that is expected of an indie internet show. It is even leagues above industry-produced, big money-backed animation projects.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic.
The animators are absolutely killing it. My god. If we remove everything that makes Helluva Boss insufferable, well, then we would be left with nothing. But the gorgeous animation, and not to mention the voice acting as well. Everyone is giving it their all. The emotional, heartfelt, downright beautiful performances almost make up for the fact that the dialogue they are reading would fit right at home on fanfiction.net. The standout obviously being Brandon Rogers, my king. Mwah. He is acting his whole pussy off. Despite the show being painful to watch at points, Brandon is there, whispering in my ear.
Try me, bitch.
And it keeps me going. They got Norman Reedus.
Well, howdy.
For one episode. Then lost Norman Reedus. Like I said in the beginning, the show is a partial musical, kind of? Because there's songs every once in a while, but not all the time, and some are genuinely moving, deeply emotional, not just for the characters, but for the viewer as well. And they reach out and touch something in my cold, dead heart that I haven't felt in ages. Ooh. They're not all good though. The musical theater elements are an extremely mixed bag. Some are implemented naturally into the scene, and others seem to be there just to fill up space. For every You Will Be Okay, a beautifully well-animated emotional piece about a father reassuring his child that his love for her is so great that even in his eventual absence, his love will remain. There is a cotton candy. A song about cotton candy, which ironically conveys the emotional and character weight of the sweet treat it's named after. It is such a non-song that you could replace it with bass-boosted wet fart with reverb 10 hours and have gotten the same experience. There are also some legitimately good jokes in Helluva Boss where I genuinely laughed because they were funny, not because they were cringe, though there were a lot of those. However, the one I found the funniest was the bit when the Australian man says,
Women just ain't funny.
And then Vivzi's writing tag pops up in the left corner for like a millisecond.
Anyway!
Alright, Viv. You earned that one. there are good episodes. Not just good by VivziePop standards, not just good for internet animation, good, solid storytelling. But the problem is that they're so good that it frustrates me, because it's very clear that the writers have the ability to make something of this caliber. It's just that they either choose not to, or the good episodes were good on accident. Oh, it's the doc. He says it's AIDS. That's bad. Hey, what a coinky dink. The characters we follow on our journey through the underworld are a ragtag found family. Blitzo, the boss of IMP. Luna, Blitzo's adopted daughter. Don't Google her name in public. Moxie, one of Blitzo's employees. And Millie, she's Moxie's wife. We also have about 7,000 side characters that will go on to get more development than the main cast. The most notable of which being Ozzy, one of the 7 deadly sins. Fizzarolli, a funny little clown fella and the best character in the show. And Stolas, a prince of hell, on and off lover of Blitzo, plot device and MacGuffin giver, uwu small bean that never does anything wrong and the show refuses to acknowledge has faults and flaws in any way and is always right. Rich, gorgeous, tall, sexy, and I'm pregnant. You see, that is an example of what we call a sex joke. The punchline was sex. However, if I were to hazard a guess, you most likely, at a bare minimum, slightly exhaled oxygen through your nose.
Maybe I'll play Fortnite.
I deleted it.
And that is because it was unexpected, well-timed, and will not be happening often. And if it does, I will shoot my writer in the head. Got it? The most noteworthy thing about Helluva Boss to an outside observer is just how rampant the unfunny, overused swearing is. If you're not familiar, Vivzie is heavily inspired by Seth Rogen comedies in South Park, and weeps for you if you don't think a well-delivered fuck word is funny. The problem being that the fuck words are never well-delivered nor funny. They are FedEx delivered because they are slammed into the ground every single time. There is nothing wrong with having a show that uses obscene language. Many adult shows do.
Fuck you! And your eyebrows!
But they do it in a way that feels natural and doesn't call attention to the fact they are doing it. Because to an adult, swearing is normal. To a 12-year-old, swearing is epic funny and makes you really cool. If for some reason other than being attracted to minors, you want to feel what it's like to be in middle school again, put on an episode of Helluva Boss. The show uses obscene language as a crutch to keep you engaged instead of writing actual jokes. And it's done in order to hammer home that it's not for kids, while ironically appealing only to little children. And it's not just one specific character, it's the entire cast. And they don't swear because that's how the character communicates, or how they were raised, or as a type of emotional shield. They do it because the writers think it's mature. Many Helluva Boss fans attempt to counter that argument by saying, it takes place in hell. What do you expect? Good writing. If the only way you are able to convey that your characters are bad people is by having them talk like they're from Newfoundland,
Randy's looking for his mirror. What are you gonna say? Holy fuck.
then you have failed at proper characterization. We should be able to tell these are bad people through their actions. Them saying fuck 10,000 times doesn't make me think they're adults. It makes me think they're 3 toddlers stacked on top of each other with unrestricted internet access. Welcome to the Cum Count, where we tally up the profanities in all your favorite Tumblr fanfictions. I'm Flazefire, and today we're going to be looking at Helluva Boss. How many swear words were said throughout the series? Let's find out and get to the cumbers. With a pilot, 2 seasons consisting of 19 episodes, and 4 shorts at the time of recording, that gives us a runtime of 426 minutes and 45 seconds, and a bad word total of 964. Maybe I missed some. Maybe you don't consider some of these swears, so I'll tack on an uncertainty of plus or minus 100, giving us a ppm of 2.228 plus or minus 0.103 profanities per minute. Poopy profanity for cringe swear goes to Blitzo for his curse chain combo in season 2, episode 4.
I have waited 5 fucking years for this appointment. Fuck me in my little red hole! Hi, the fuck you looking at?
Up next on the Cum Count, you. The swearing is just a byproduct of the real issue that plagues Helluva Boss, the terrible writing. Both the characters and the comedy. And since the swears aren't the only attempts at making the viewer laugh, I will now talk about the jokes.
Alone in the darkness, I gazed into the abyss, and the abyss looked through me and spoke. Penis. XD.
All of Helluva Boss's jokes are sex funny. I'm being hyperbolic, of course. There are other types of jokes, but the amount of sex jokes is so large that it diminishes the others to the point that I consider them non-existent.
Oh, harder.
Blitzo and Stolas' entire relationship revolves around sex. What type of jokes do you think are being made? There are entire episodes set in the lust ring of hell. What type of jokes do you think are being made?
The show was created by Vivzy Pop.
What type of jokes do you think are being made? Sex jokes can be funny. There are even some in Helluva Boss that got a reaction out of me other than cringe.
Who needs words when you got a mouth full of... Come to your senses.
However, these are outliers because a majority of the comedy is the characters looking directly into the camera and saying boner. When the punchline to every setup is les sex, and I can guess it from 10,000 miles away, blindfolded, no arms, no legs, with a heart virus, they go from being funny to being cringe. In Hazbin Hotel, we had the mercy of the sex joke characters being relegated to the sidelines. In Helluva Boss, our main character is Blitzo, and the only jokes he makes are edgy swear and funny sex. You might interpret that as a character who struggles with sexuality and immaturity and expresses themselves in this way as a form of coping, but if you do, you're a huge nerd. Take a shower, Stinky. A purposely annoying and obnoxious character is still annoying and obnoxious. And it's also an incorrect interpretation, because all the other characters are doing it as well. It's just that Blitzo does it more. There are so many sex jokes that they felt the need to write in a line about the amount of sex jokes.
Is it bad that I'm getting hard?
Shut the fuck up! Why is it always a sex thing?
But when it's not just penis funny, they love to do the tried and tested, never terrible, this thing won't happen. Oh, the thing happened.
I'll be super low-key. Nobody will notice me.
There is no way we are going to get enough clients by the end of the day with one poorly spelled, bad grammar flyer.
They always attack at random, all over the country. There's no way to predict where they'll show up next.
Oh, well, that's convenience.
Okay, good talk, bye. Wow, that actually went better than I thought.
Sure hope this glass doesn't break.
The amount of jokes and how out of place they are is also a Vivzy Pop trademark. We will have legitimate attempts at character arcs and development. You know, the entire point of the show, that will have all of their tension and impact cut short by an unfunny joke. Moxie is getting abused by his father. The room is now covered in dildos. Blitzo is struggling with the realization that he pushes everyone he loves away because he's afraid of getting hurt. He vomits all over the floor. Stolas and Blitzo are having an intense argument about their relationship, and it's brought up that Blitzo knew Stolas was going to be assassinated and didn't tell him. But a few episodes before, there was a joke about how Stolas literally heard his wife talking on the phone about him being assassinated, and he wasn't paying attention. If the show stuck to its initial premise of being an episodic kill of the week adventure, this would not be a problem, because it's fine to have silly jokes that break the tension, because at the end of the episode, it doesn't matter. And it's also fine for an extremely dark and emotional scene to be juxtaposed with a bit of levity.
I probably should have used this earlier, huh?
Many other pieces of media do it, but they do it in a way that helps enhance the scene. Helluva Boss does it in a way that detracts from it, because it's happening all the time. I no longer feel invested emotionally, because I know there is a punchline around every single tier.
I love you guys. Out of my face!
I'm going crazy, little tiny Hollywood
Baby! I have tonal whiplash. The worst part about Helluva Boss from a writing standpoint is its obsession with resetting everything back to zero. It wants to have its cake and fuck it too. Characters will be developed and given arcs and growth, just to be returned to the way they were in episode 1, to go through the same thing again. And you can't pinpoint this to a specific character, because everyone's doing it. Luna is closed off from wanting affection due to her childhood trauma. She will learn that her adopted father is trying his best, and that he loves her and she is wanted, that she has friends that care for her, and that it's okay to accept love from those around her. And then will immediately turn around and beat the shit out of Blitzo and verbally abuse everyone around her.
Moxie lacks
self-confidence and is constantly undermined and belittled. He learns to stand up for himself and that he deserves respect, only to be returned to a sniveling, whiny baby that needs to be saved by his wife in the next episode. Millie is violent and loves Moxie. And that's it. Stolas is a loving father who stays with his wife for their daughter Octavia. He feels trapped in a loveless marriage and has a lot of emotional trauma. As a result, he doesn't notice how his behavior is affecting his daughter. He has a genuine, heartfelt conversation with her.
Are you gonna run off with him? And leave me behind?
No. No, never. I'd never do that.
And then he's right back to neglecting Octavia so he can get his back blown out. Stryker is an antagonist. They have a chance to kill him, they don't. Stryker is an antagonist. They have a chance to kill him, they don't. Stryker is an antagonist. They have a chance to kill him, do they? No! Stolas and Blitz start out in a transactional relationship. Because Stolas is unhappy in his marriage, he finds comfort in Blitz, if only because it's something new and exciting. Blitz will just have sex with anything with a heartbeat and the ability to consent. They start to develop feelings for each other that neither of them know how to process due to their past trauma. They fight, it's over, they're flirting, we're back. They fight, it's over, they're flirting, we're back. Over and over and over. At the time of recording, they are currently in the we are so back stage of their relationship, with Stolas literally and figuratively giving up his life to be with Blitzo. The issue is not that these conflicts are happening. Most of them are interesting and they are realistic. In the real world, people's deep-seated emotional struggles are not solved in a tight 22 minutes of animated fun. But this isn't real life. This is an episode of television, and when every episode feels like I'm stuck in a time loop...
Try to cut your dad some slack.
Well, I'm gonna do what time loopers do. Something different. And probably a bunch of illegal stuff. And just to add to the list of constant repetition, nearly every single character's trauma is their poor relationship with their fathers. Stolas, daddy issues. Blitzo, daddy issues. Octavia, daddy issues. Luna, daddy issues. Moxie, daddy issues. Vivzi, we get it. But you are 32 years old. At some point, you need to deal with it in a way that's not making yet another character that has issues with their father. The only character that gets any permanent, non-status quo reset development and non-daddy issue related backstory is Fizzarali, and he's not even a main character. I'd even dare to say that his episode is the best in the series. It delves into the idea of one's passions coming to define them, and the struggle of working hard and achieving your dreams, only to learn that they were not what you thought they would be. The songs are good, the dialogue is funny, it pays off some of Blitz's established relationship with Fizzarali. This episode actually tells a conclusive story, but I sure wish it happened to one of our main characters. Controversial opinion, I think that Helluva Boss should have been set in its own separate universe. The idea would work just fine on its own. In fact, I think it would have been much better, because I would not be thinking, how will this affect the has-been lore? Somewhere in the development process, Vivzipop stopped talking to Vivzipop, and I genuinely think that Helluva Boss retroactively makes the world building in Has-Been Hotel even more inconsistent. Right off the bat, it completely throws the hierarchy of hell out the window. So everyone in hell is a demon, but not all demons are human sinners. Those are hellborn. There are different species of hellborn like succubi, hellhounds, possessors, imps, bahamutes, infestors, owl people, non-sentient animals, and creatures created entirely by other demons. And nothing distinguishes the hellborn from human sinners other than the fact that their blood is black. And because the character designs are the way that they are, it's incredibly difficult to tell any of the demons apart by just their appearance alone. Some hellborn can only be killed with magic angelic weapons, while others can be killed by 100% grade A American iron. All overlords are human sinners, but not all human sinners are overlords. You can become an overlord by...
The Bluetooth device.
There are physical embodiments of the 7 deadly sins, and they do the exact same thing as every other demon, but are considered special because they're powerful in ways that we don't get to see, but they're just powerful, okay? Imps and hellhounds are at the bottom of society, except they're not, because literally every powerful being is dating them, except for Blitzo and Stolas. They're the only ones who aren't allowed to be in love because of social standing, because That's what it says in the AO3 writing tutorial. If you're killed in hell and you're a demon, but only if you're a sinner and only if you're killed by an angelic weapon, then you will actually die. If you're killed by any other means, you just slowly regenerate. And if you're not a human sinner and you die, then maybe you regenerate, maybe your soul dissipates and goes on to make up part of hell's environment itself, maybe you stop existing, and that's all nonsense, but you wouldn't know any of that from watching the show. You can only learn this information from watching several multi-hour VivziePop drawing streams from 4 years ago, or watching one of the many Vivzieverse YouTube lore masters.
Did you know this? In Helluva Boss, there are currently a minimum of 58 shots of Luna's paws. Would you get a Luna Helluva Boss paw job? Let me know down below.
If you think about Helluva Boss at all, nothing makes sense except for one thing. This world does not exist on its own because it's a living, breathing macrocosm of people, culture, or history. It exists as a plot device in order to put our characters in whatever situation allows for the most melodramatic relationship arguments and penis jokes. The characters do not exist in hell. Hell exists around our characters. It's not set in hell because the writers want to explore the idea of what a real hell society would look like. It's set in hell because it's an edgy location.
Hello?
My name's Jeff. I got a client. Come with me.
Don't lose your way.
I want him wrapped. Queen Belch.
If you were to think that both of Vivzie's shows shared the same fan base, you would be kind of right. There is an overlap between the Has-Been Hotel and Helluva Boss fans, but Has-Been Hotel is on Amazon Prime and requires mommy's credit card to view. Helluva Boss is entirely on YouTube and for free, which means its fan base is entirely populated by terminally online Zoomers.
Why don't you keep fucking yourself, you big asshole?
Why did that line hurt so much?
For those of you that have been outside before, I've been using a word throughout the video you may be unfamiliar with. It is a fandom term that has led to the loss of life on a scale far greater than that of the atomic bomb. That word is shipping. Shipping is the act of taking one character and another character and making them... There's a lot more nuance, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And it's fine. Anyone that partakes in shipping culture on their own isn't hurting anyone. These characters aren't real. You're allowed to do whatever you want with them.
But if you ship incest or children, you're a fucking weirdo.
However, to the Helluva fandom, it doesn't matter what you ship, because it will always be wrong in their eyes. That is because of this pesky little thing known as headcanons. Headcanons, or headcanoning, is the act of taking existing lore and just making things up. And because a lot of Helluva's characters have either no screen time or no development, fans will use headcanons in order to fill in the gaps. Which again, is fine. But it's similar to your diaper fetish. You don't need to tell anyone else. But the Helluva Boss fandom feels the need to let the world know, in painstaking detail, every aspect of their personal headcanons. And this is an issue, because the fandom will allow headcanons to warp their view of the show. Just because you want to smooch them does not mean they are good characters. You can say you like them, but that does not mean they are well written or interesting. The deep emotional comic you read on E621 doesn't suddenly make the show good. Conversely, just because a character is a bad person does not mean they are a bad character. These are not real people. It's okay to like them, even though they might be immoral. You don't need to make up justifications that they are actually a misunderstood, innocent baby in order to delude yourself into thinking that everything you like must be perfect. It all boils down to there being a disproportionate amount of children in the fandom, because only children care about shipping discourse. It's power scaling, but for edgy gay teenagers. Helluva has bright colors, cool-looking characters, and is super mature and adult. And kids love that. As much as they shouldn't be watching it, kids are going to anyways. But if parents actually monitored their internet behavior, I might be able to see discussion of this show without feeling the need to obliterate a 9-year-old. Every fandom has to deal with this, but Helluva Boss is a unique coalescence of factors, leading it to be one of the most annoying and toxic. The leading causes being that it is composed of mostly children, or adults with the media literacy capacity of children, and it being made by Vivian Madrano. Because it's clear, Helluva Boss was designed specifically to have a fandom, which is a recipe for disaster. The character designs, the way Viv interacts with the fans on Twitter, the romantic subplots of every character, the Gooner merchandise, the marketing, it's all pandering. There are multiple direct references to the fandom in the show. The third short, Weeaboo, is dedicated entirely to making fun of the fandom. This is a bad practice because the fandom should be shaped by the show. The show should not be warped around the fandom, because the fandom is always stupid and wrong and never knows what it wants. When you as a creator start caring about what the fandom says and let it influence your decision making, you start becoming Rick and Morty.
I turned myself into a Reddit.
And because the show is steeped in the stank of the fandom, they feel a personal connection to it. Ergo, criticizing it is a personal attack on them. Because remember, everything they like must be a masterpiece. They're not allowed to like things that are considered bad. This is, of course, like all groups, a vocal minority. Most of the Helluva Boss fandom is...
I woke up next to the Lord of Gluttony and a hellhound.
Relatively normal, and this kind of behavior is just a byproduct of kids having access to social media. But what really isn't helping is Vivzi's constant stoking of the fandom's toxicity. She personally cannot help herself.
Deadpool and Wolverine uses the word fuck 118 times. A franchise record.
Am I allowed to make the if Vivzi Papa wrote joke?
I just find it ironic that the guy who said HB was turning into fanfiction thinks he can write a better story. What do you call that? I think it starts with a fan and ends in a fiction.
This is a banger tweet.
The fact that people use OMG, Helluva Boss is like fanfic as an insult? Unbelievable. You wish your shows did this shit.
Be so real right now.
Thank you, Vivian Madrano, for not giving a shit about the haters and following your heart, giving us the best show a fandom could ever wish for.
I wrote this 3 years ago, so if it's a fanfic of itself? I don't take it as an insult anymore, cause like, lol, it's just a story, and one I love telling.
A while back, she made a tweet saying,
I'm officially done being here. I just can't stand it anymore. This was my place to really have a window into the fandom and see all your creativity, and maybe I will still try to lurk when I can, but from a private account. Please follow my Insta or Blue Sky. Thank you.
And then, 4 days later, many such cases. Running counter to the fandom's obsession is an equally dumb, equivalently annoying group of people that the fandom has dubbed the Hate-dom, which is a really stupid name. These people hate the show for a litany of reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of the show itself. It all stems from their dislike of Vivzi Pop personally. If you were to believe the Hate-dom, Vivzi Pop is the second coming of the Antichrist and also hits babies with bricks, when in reality, she's just a quirky millennial who never grew out of her edgy phase. Most of the things she is being accused of are almost always proven to be overblown, misinterpreted, or completely false. And I'm not denying that she can be extremely annoying and says really stupid things, but she is not every Obic or Ist. If you drown out all of the crazies on both sides, you will come to realize that Helluva Boss is a flawed show with good elements. However, no matter how good or bad it gets, I will still be watching, because although Helluva Boss at times can be fanfiction OC Tumblr shipping garbage, oh boy is it tasty, and I sure do love some delicious garbage.
I shit it in my pants. I am for real. I think you should join my Discord too. My pants are filled with some stinky poo. I shit it in my pants. I am for real. You should also follow my Twitter. My pants are filled with so much shitter.